Welcome to Friday, August 19th, 2022. Your Day Weather Podcast brought to you by Cowboy State Daily. Cowboy State Daily has more original Wyoming news content than any other news organization in the state. Check them out at cowboystatedaily.com. Sign up for their daily newsletter. Well, thunderstorms will be found along and west of the Continental Divide, as well as across the southern Rockies and the desert southwest this weekend, while generally fair conditions will be found elsewhere. It's the tale of the two divides. East of the divide, it's going to be a real snoozer. West of the divide, you've got a little bit of weather this weekend, as we will see moisture get stretched to the north, and that's going to bring showers and thunderstorms to western Wyoming, parts of Idaho and Utah, parts of Colorado's western slope and central and southern areas. But you get into eastern Wyoming, eastern Montana, the Dakotas, Nebraskas, western areas, there just really won't be a lot happening. But frontal systems are going to arrive mid to late next week. That's when the areas east of the Continental Divide have better chances for showers and thunderstorms. Also, we've got a little bit of a La Nina update for you. This is what it's looking like with today's weather chart. It's getting just more busy, isn't it? Well, we've got a couple of things to highlight. This low right up here in the Dakotas is pushing some cooler air westward, back up the Continental Divide. So you're going to have an east to northeast wind today, east of the divide. That will cool us off a little bit. There'll be a lot of areas today only in the 70s and low 80s. And for the middle of August, boy, that's pretty comfortable. But we have this high here, still centered over the Four Corners area, but we're getting the big squeeze. Basically, cooler, drier air is pushing westward, while warmer, moist air is getting pushed northward. So what's going to happen here is there's going to be an axis of moisture concentrated into this area right there. And you can see it on the satellite imagery. Here's that low in the upper Midwest. Here's the dry air getting pushed in from the northeast, and here's the subtropical moisture coming in like this. So it's kind of the big squeeze, and there you can see where the moisture is. If you're in the green, the blue, or the white areas, especially the green and blue, that's where the likelihood of thunderstorms and showers will be. This is for Saturday. You can see the brown east of the Continental Divide here. That brown east of the divide really drying the air mass out, and that's going to limit thunderstorm activity, but at the same time make for some really pleasant August weather conditions. The green here continues in the southern parts of the United States, where there's going to be a lot of rain falling from Florida through the Gulf Coast. Texas, hot summer, it's over. The hot summer in Texas is now going to be warm and wet as we go into the next couple of weeks. And you can see that here. This is the thunderstorm forecast. This is where the lightning strikes are predicted for Saturday afternoon. So you can see in the western areas of Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, into Utah there, afternoon and evening thunderstorms are going to be around tomorrow. And this is what they look like on Sunday. So the southern mountains of Wyoming, the western parts of the state, the mountains of Colorado back west, that's where most of the action will be. And then you can see along the Gulf Coast, then up into the eastern part of the United States with the middle part of the country, looking at a really nice August weekend of weather. And this is through Monday afternoon. You can see the heavier rain into Oklahoma, Texas there, going back into New Mexico, back into Arizona, the central and southern mountains of Colorado, back into southeastern Utah, going to do pretty well. Going ahead, this is for next week. This is for Thursday. For Thursday, we've got a low and a trough. Not terribly strong, but this system is going to track just like this by the middle to the end of next week. That will bring a cooler air mass. It'll beat down the high pressure ridge, and that's when we'll see a better chance of showers and thunderstorms coming our way. As we look at the forecast for precipitation for the 3-day period, Wednesday through Friday of next week, look at the rains up in Montana here. Coming into the Dakotas, we're going to see a more active pattern there as we get to the middle to the end of next week. The monsoonal moisture continues in the Four Corners area, and Gulf of Mexico moisture continues to bring cooler, wet weather to Texas and parts of Oklahoma. I wanted to show you the most recent Drought Monitor. This was released yesterday. This is the Drought Monitor really as of Tuesday of this week. You can see still lots of reds and browns and greens out there. If we were to focus in a little bit closer, you would see that in the last week, you see the green areas. The green areas show drought improvement, and you can see the heavy monsoonal rains that fell from Laramie to Casper back into the southwestern areas of the United States. And up here in the Weston County and parts of Niobrara County, you saw some improvement, as well as the Nebraska northern panhandle area. If you were to focus in, though, you can really see where the dry conditions are really continuing. The Cheyenne area, the southeast counties of Wyoming, down into this area right here. Then there's this arch of dryness. Now, it has become a lot thinner. And you can see there's been some white areas growing in Colorado. If you compare to where we were a year ago, it's pretty interesting. So this is where we are right now with the drought conditions. This is where we were a year ago at the same time. Notice the southern shift from the Dakotas to the southern plains. So you can see that the drought conditions have worsened the further south and gotten better the further north. And as we go into the fall season and into early winter season with La Nina continuing, well, that's going to be a concern here probably for another 3 months. If we were to go back from the late 70s to where we are now, this La Nina, folks, is going into its third season. That is unusual. It's not unheard of. It's only happened 3 times to have a multi-year La Nina go more than 2 to 3 years. This La Nina that we have right now, this is why the West and the parts of the central United States, the drought has been so severe. It's been because of the cool Pacific in the tropics. The last time we had a multi-year La Nina, 2010 to 2012, a lot of folks remember that. We also had, after the Super El Nino of 1998, we went into a multi-year La Nina as well as we got into late 1999 through 2001 and into 2002. So when you have these intense multi-year La Ninas, it's bad. If you compare this La Nina to other El Ninos and La Ninas, you can see that when it got started to where it is right now, compared to where you are looking at the sea surface temperature anomaly and how cool the subtropical Pacific has become, this multi-year La Nina that we've been going through is really, compared to other historical multi-year La Ninas, quite the strong one. However, we continue to see the forecast predicting the end of La Nina. However, we had the same thing last year. Last year, the long-range modeling predicted La Nina to end this summer. Obviously, it didn't. However, now that we're deeper into the solar cycle, and the fact that a 4-year La Nina, at least since 1950, we haven't seen one, odds are that this, indeed, La Nina will be gone by early 2023, but it's going to persist through September, October, and November at the very least. And you can see it's continuing to be very robust, but we continue to have this warm pool building up here in the northern part of the Pacific, which will be a player later on. Now, we've been talking about the last weekend of August maybe having a cold front coming into the western United States. It's still showing up as a possibility. Cooler weather may evade by next weekend, but we're still not 100% sure of it yet. So stay tuned on Monday, and we'll have a better look at what that next weekend may look like. Speaking of weekends, have a good one. See you Monday.